session. So last time we had a look at scaled agile in terms of how we can manage the scaled agile into three bands or three horizontals as we normally see, right? So let's revise that thing and try to understand how we can make it better, how we can make it, adaptable in terms of moving from agile scrum to agile, scaled agile, where we are scaling up. So what is scaling? In the sense we are becoming bigger. These are specifically for bigger project, bigger solutions and bigger services. So here we are looking at some project plans which are over the years timeline and with the resources above and beyond 25 plus. That's the normal thumb rule. Again, there are some organizations who might start at 15 resources. There might be some organizations who might, even with the team of 40, they might run agile scrum in parallel iteration. These things do happen in real life and we do basically get accustomed to it. Again, it's every organization's prerogative to adopt a policy and process or not, right? So we are slowly steadily trying to understand how we can go into that leadership chair called manager, and then slowly steadily move towards level where we can be a senior manager, where the management is rather than building plans and all those things. It's more about communication, more about risk handling, more about escalation management, and this is what we normally call as a senior manager. It can be senior project manager, program manager, and so on and so forth. And up the ladder, the thought process is pretty much similar. You do more communication and less actual thing in day-to-day lives, and that's how we're going to acquire, how progressively we are learn, or how we progressively trying to adopt to the scale agile discipline. Okay, so let's try to understand how do you scale it. So what do you scale? You scale multiple project into one program. So now you are executing multiple agile stream with a program. Okay, now this is self-organizing, self-managing team of agile team members. As we know, in agile we've just learned there are only three roles there. One is product owner, second is development team, and third is scrum master. Scrum master is a typically mentor who mentors everybody on agile discipline. There's a development team which includes everybody else, and there is a product owner. Development team consists of developers, tester, project manager, and so on and so forth, designers, architect. The product owner is a visionary leader who normally get attached to the project team from the client side, stakeholder side, where he or she keeps guiding us on our day-to-day execution, alignments, and any contradiction and confusion we might have throughout our project, product, services development. Now here, let's try to understand when you scale up, what are the things happen differently. Here we need to have some the number of team members increases beyond certain numbers. So you just can't have everybody counting under development team, or development team. So we normally try to segregate in different roles. So there are now release management role, product management role, then there are systems team, there are some architect, designer, and so on and so forth. And here we got to understand how we get the working software, working system level software deployed as early as possible. And then we also adapt to something like DevOps. DevOps is development operational. So what we are trying to do here, we are trying to make the operations efficient day by day, hour by hour. And here all these different team members which are got induced help in one way or the another. Then there's another addition, rather than a role, it's a kind of a process where we normally called it art. And this is the most asked question in the interview of scaled agile. What is art? Art is agile release train, which is basically a kind of release management results, how we are going to deliver these releases in CI/CD pipeline, continuous integration, continuous deployment. And these words we need to remember, so please do write it down somewhere. Wherever you want to prepare for your interview, you need to keep this in mind. There is only one or two major question in scale agile. Why do you scale? Because the agile scrum team has to leverage the economy of volumes, in terms of whenever a bigger team working together, we have better breathing space in terms of resource sharing, and resource being man, material, machine. Man in the sense human, material in the sense raw material, and machine in the sense all instrument whatever required to develop project solution support services. Now these are all kind of leverage in the scale agile, and we are just trying to understand how we can leverage across three band called team, program, and portfolio. So here we are trying to understand how we can leverage this economy of scale in program management. So align to a common mission via a single backlog, and they call it team backlog. And in team backlog, we normally build each team a backlog. So if you have A team, B team, C team, D team, you normally have 4 different team backlog, which is a kind of part of our program backlog or a normal requirement list. The requirement register, as we studied in our PMI PMP thought process, is basically the program backlog. So whatever we are developing together with number of teams, we try to put it in a program backlog, and then we have a team backlog, which is kind of the requirements accepted to be developed by one of the team. And this way we progressively segregate these team backlog from the program backlog continuously for each and every team. Then each and every team normally work on something called program objectives called PSI. And these PSI or program sprint iterations to be completed, we need to understand how like a singular agile scrum team, every team has their own scrum calls, discussions with the product owner, and so on and so forth. So we normally try to accept the all features or architectures or design in releasing these continuous development, continuous releases with a client on a progressive basis. And this is what we call agile release train. Whenever you pipe something in the agile release, they normally taken as a kind of a single agile they are trying to represent it as a single agile team releasing something. So we need to have something like release management, a kind of resources. What we used to have something like configuration manager in our team, who used to nominate what all releases after certification can be pushed to the release ladder or can be pushed to the production servers, and so on and so forth. So here we also use something like architecture, UI designers, the release train engineer, who is kind of configuration manager, as we used to call it in older days. Now this configuration manager basically work closely with the DevOps teams to build a continuous agile release train, because now here there are a number of teams who are releasing their items day after day. So it's a kind of continuous release, and that's why we call it as a ART, agile release train. And here we continuously improve our feature development in these releases, and normally build these releases release note to share across stakeholder, share across team member, like okay, these functionalities are over, these features we have added, let's move to the next, and so on and so forth. That's why we need a continuous train which is working on day in day out. In terms of any team which basically develops something needs to be tested and then released to the ART team normally release it to the client, and then coordinates with the client with the release note, approval, sanctions, and everything. So here we are trying to ascertain the overall load of a single person to multiple roles. And here overall we still have a project manager or a senior manager, or you normally call it as a program manager, who leading this complete team with a roadmap vision, constantly in touch with product owner. And that's how the whole entity of a single agile stream have been scaled up to multiple teams seamlessly without any jerk in our releases. Then we have common sprint length and estimating to understand how are the velocities, how we are doing it, are we doing it efficiently, effectively, are there any challenges in between, what type of obstacles do we have. All those scrum meetings, all those obstacle removal and channel removal do happen in a progressive manner. Here we normally have all these scrum master or art engineers face-to-face planning credence for collaboration, alignment, synchronization, and assessment. So the team working seamlessly as a single agile team with a multiple agile scrum execution in between. But it's normally a complete bundled self-organizing team, self-managing team. That's how we portray it to the stakeholder, to the client. And then we normally build a value delivery via feature and benefits. In terms of release note, we do modify, rather than calling them release note, we call them feature and benefits. So whatever you are delivering to the client has to be documented in features and benefits, in terms of how you're adding this feature continuously, day after day, week after week, or sprint after sprint. This way we are progressively trying to portray as a single big team to the client, but internally we are managing the complete collaboration, flexibility, credence, and alignment, synchronization within the team with the agile thought process. Here we normally label it as a scaled agile approach, or safe approach, SAFE. And this is how we progressively try to achieve our result, try to achieve our deliveries in a step-by-step fashion seamlessly. Does that make sense? Anybody have any questions? Again, this is more of a thought process. This is more of a philosophical thought process, which are being implemented with a particular type of templatization, standardization of processes, as and when we go on adopting this scaled agile approach for our organization. So every organizations might have a different flavor, but normally they use these label from Agile Scrum. That's why we say we are basically standardizing in terms of how we deliver these product, solution, support services with a scaled agile thought process. Does anybody have any questions as of now in terms of program space in scaled agile or a safe methodology implementation? We are good, right? So let me move forward. If you have any question, do let me know. Okay. Now here we are trying to understand from a portfolio perspective. Portfolio is kind of what we are looking for, a bigger umbrella sort of a, or bird's eye view sort of a picture here. So here we have all senior project manager, the PMOs of the world, are helping us out to apply the scaled agile to our organization. So here we normally get induced with lean management, cost reductions. Then we have program portfolio management team, and then we track with the matrix. We track the dashboard for our top management, CEOs, CTOs, MDs of the world. Now here, what we are trying to build, we are trying to build a vision here for our client, for our generic distribution throughout our organization, so that everybody have a track of how we are progressing. So here we have value streams, how we are adding value to the our clients, customer. Then here we have something called portfolio backlog. This is a kind of another way of differentiating the long-term strategic business goal from the tactical business goal of program backlog. So portfolio backlog might just depicts a few milestone here rather than the releases. So here we are looking for milestone achievement, here looking for feature completions or epics completion, rather than requirement list or requirement completed on a program level. So here overall the viewpoint of a viewer do changes in terms of getting a bird's eye view, or trying to understand from a larger senior management perspectives. And that's how we normally call it as a portfolio vision, which normally talks about what all business epics we have achieved, what all architecture epics we have achieved, and all these enterprise architecture team helping the senior manager, portfolio managers, CEOs, CTOs to understand how we are progressing in terms of our achievement in deploying the features, be it a product, solution, support services, what type of product features have we already deployed or given to the client, and so on and so forth. And here we talk about mostly centralized strategy, decentralized execution, in terms of a centralized strategy applied at the portfolio layer, but a decentralized execution in terms of a team level, where we have 3 or 4 teams working together in cohesion, in collaboration for a given product, support services. And of course, at a portfolio level, we have a keen interest in lean budgeting at a program level, where we try to control the cost in terms of trying to understand, trying to maintain our profitability margins, the EBITDA level, and blah 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 things. So here we are looking for more of a cost centric angle, more of a benefits and what you can say, benefit and advantage type of layer. And then we move to your portfolio layer, where we might use Kanban system. And I'll as we discussed in the Kanban, what we do, we normally disintegrate the overall list of requirement or list of epics into to do. Then we are doing it currently, and we have closed it, and the business is more interested in whatever we have closed, whatever we have achieved, so that the business can bill the client, and so on and so forth. So this way we are using Kanban as a more or less bird's eye view of a progression of any product, solution, support, services development. Enterprise architecture is a first class citizen in terms of trying to portray the bird's eye view, the high level diagram view to the senior management, and telling them, out of these 50 epics, we have completed 21, we are yet to complete 29, and this is how we are going to basically progressively complete these epics, progressively complete these features to be deployed at a client place at such and such pace, at such and such velocity. And that's how we normally talk about a more of a high level thought process here. If there are any problem, objections, obstruction, then the senior management will step in and try to address it at a ground level. So objective matrix supports the governance and Kaizen. And we're going to look at the Kaizen in couple of minutes to understand the philosophy of Kaizen, rather than having into look. Again, everybody else, every different organizations have different purview or interpretation of Kaizen, the way they drill it down to a low every project portfolio solution level. Here we normally value more of a business, mostly in the cost and budgeting terms and the architectural epics. So here I might have, for a 2 years project, I might have just 6-7 milestone or 6-7 business epics. That can be a scenario where if you ask a portfolio manager, hey, how are you doing on the implementation of enhanced attendance solution for State Farm? So you'll say, okay, out of six epics, we have completed 3. We have yet to complete 3, but we are on our pace. We are at a best possible velocity and efficiency as of now. So this, CEO seat will say, yeah, good, thank you. Let's move on. And this is how the normally status reporting, the matrices reporting, or overall the dashboard happens in terms of top management level. And this is why we call it portfolio manager or portfolio, like a delivery owner type of positions in terms of this portfolio leadership to be executed even at a scaled agile methodology. And this is how we progressively keep improving in terms of our seniority, in terms of our organic growth throughout the organizations. Any questions so far in portfolio management as of now?
So, what is the fixed frequency for reviewing what we have achieved at portfolio level, or is it like ongoing process and it keeps happening like every month?
Really great question. Normally, as we discussed in our PMP thought processes, we normally update a dashboard on daily basis, hourly basis. Whatever you update in your Microsoft project plan or a Jira template or Primavera software, that software pushes some sort of a data to this dashboard automatically. You don't have to do anything. Okay, and then this dashboard get what you can say summarized up for these portfolio managers or CEOs, CTOs, MDs of the world. So it does happen at a real time. So if any portfolio managers wants a detail, he might ask the program manager, senior project manager, or a project manager for that matters, checking upon details on a particular project. But here normally they get summarized view every hour, get actually calibrated from the project management solution, whatever we are following in terms of software like Microsoft Project, Jira, Primavera, and there are a dime a dozen such software which normally have a kind of backend data pushing integration with the dashboard of the organization. And that's how all these dashboards are getting updated on a real time basis. So there's no lag there, because whatever you're developing has to be reported, right? Whatever you're progressing has to be reported. Whatever you are delivered, the milestone has to be marked, and so on and so forth. And that happens in the real time background. In good old days, we used to cut copy these numbers and paste it into a web input sheet or a web page where it used to update the dashboard. But then there are too many managers being smart, reporting to the dashboard some different thing. On ground there are some different thing, and these things do happen. And so the CEO CTOs of the world devise, no, we need a project management software where we can pull the data from that, rather than somebody is compiling the information for us. And that's how we progress to today's thought process, today's most easy way of reporting. But again, you are reporting whatever happening at the ground. So it's quite transparency also will build in terms of from project manager to the CEO, CTOs and MD of the world. Does that answer your question, ma'am?
Yes, sir, it does.
No problem.
Thank you.
Thank you. Most welcome. Let's move on. Now here, let's try to understand Kaizen, what it means and how we normally adapt to the Kaizen. Again, Kaizen is a philosophy. I think it's got started in late 1900, where Japan, I think East Asian country, have invented this thought process into their management era. So a fundamental philosophy of Agile is that the team should own their own processes, or as we like to say, disciplined Agile teams, or we should choose their own way of working, and we call it wow. Of course, this is easier said than done. When you give responsibility to the development team, it sounds very easy, but on the ground, developers are normally not leader, not always the leader person. So they normally try to work in their own island, try to working in their own thought process, rather than constantly integrating with others and all, right? So for that matter, Agile got a good thought process of way of working, and this is what they normally call as wow. So what is wow? We normally try to induce more of a communication in terms of status update, more of a automation in that communication. Is whatever you do in terms of number of lines, program returns, number of features you tick marked in the working status, like WIP, work in progress, or to be assigned and completed. These are the three steps we normally get collected via Kaizen, and we normally put this or pull this status to the dashboard level, where the top management can understand it with the transparency. The challenge is that every team is unique and faces unique situation. In other words, context counts. So if you are working on something like C programming, Python programming, which is a kind of secretive in their own nature. But if you're working with something like cognitive network, if you're working more like R or those type of platform, there are some platform which are much blunt to the progress reporting. There are some platform which are really secretive of their, or that's the way they've evolved, right? Be it a C program. If anybody have worked on a C, they know the line of code doesn't clearly translate to the output. And that's why we need some mechanism to validate, to verify this progress on daily basis. And that's how, when you say way of working or way of transparent reporting, some platform might suggest, some platform might get adopted very easily, some might have some additional challenges. And that's how we normally try to integrate the overall transparency at a IDE level, integrated development environment level. Furthermore, there are no best practices, rather than every practice has trade-off and works well in a situation and poorly in others. Yes, if you apply a thumb rule or a standard discipline, it won't work similarly in Python, C, or other IDs. So again, you need to have a customized solution, right? So here, what we are trying to do, we are trying to understand how we push up the efficiencies from developers to the CEO, CTO, to understand how much have we actually did, how much actually we have accomplished, and so on and so forth. Worst it, you are ready, you really don't know how well a technique will work for you until you actually try out in your environment. And that's why There are more stress given on a practical approach rather than a thumb rule for all. Given all of these, how can a team choose its way of working? Again, here we might adopt something like Kaizen. Okay, so Kaizen is a philosophy which talks about how you work together, how you collaborate, how you report, and so on and so forth. Okay, let me play you a 1.5 minute video where we'll try to understand how Kaizen works in the real ground scenario, in the actual how that philosophy have been perforated. Okay, so let me share this video with you. Mm, could you see what is Kaizen on your screen?
Yes,
Hello.
sir.
Yeah, now let's have a very small video, 1.5 minute video, where we'll try to understand Kaizen philosophy.
In 1986, Masaaki Imai introduced the world to the philosophy and practice of Kaizen in his book Kaizen, the Key to Japan's Competitive Success. So what is Kaizen? Kaizen is everyday improvement, everybody improvement, everywhere improvement. The word Kaizen is a Japanese term meaning change for the better. In the context of the workplace, Kaizen refers to the practices and actions that continually improve all functions and include every employee from the C-suite to the front line. Kaizen is not an improvement process or a description of how to improve. Instead, it's a way of thinking that informs every decision and infuses the culture. Several structured improvement methodologies, including the Toyota Production System, Lean, and Six Sigma, are built on the philosophy of Kaizen. Some core beliefs common to all organizations that practice Kaizen include: every process can be improved. Continuous improvement is necessary to be competitive. Defects and errors are almost always due to flawed processes, not people, and much more. While Kaizen is often associated with lean manufacturing's emphasis on waste reduction, that is far from the only application of Kaizen. Practicing Kaizen can help you improve safety, productivity, quality, and customer satisfaction. For more on Kaizen, visit kainexus.com.
So again, this is one of the big company who professes Kaizen to all major organizations throughout the world, and this is how the Kaizen means continuously improving with all the elements at it help, so that you're trying to improve progressively, collaboratively, and continuously. That's the most important output of a Kaizen. Again, it's a philosophy. Okay, but still I think I've given a good idea to you what is Kaizen. Anybody have any question for me as of now?
No, sir.
Okay, let me move ahead. Now, here, let's try to understand how we can implement Kaizen from a scale agile perspectives. Okay, while working with the organizations to help them to learn how to improve their wow, we have developed a technique that we call guided continuous improvement, and this is what GCI is a proprietary to agile, scaled agile thought process. A Kaizen loop is an approach where a team experiments with a small change in their way of working. So what we are doing, somebody suggests a small change. Let's say whenever we come to the office, we say good morning with a smiling face. It's a small change, right? I'm just giving you more of a philosophical example rather than a practical development team example. So here, after let's say a week or a month's time, we will review. Have our efficiency increases with saying good morning with a smile? Yes, and this is actually a study done at Caltech, California Technical Institute, where when you start your class, when you start your session in the morning, if you say good morning with a smile, it really energizes you up to a great level, and the efficiency increase up to 6 to 7%. I don't know how they reached this figure. There are good number of abstract available at Caltech website. You can go and check with those. But this is how a small change can improve your efficiency. 6% improvement in efficiency is a big deal. Means let's say you are manufacturing 100 TVs a day, 6% increase, like you are normally started manufacturing 106 TVs per day. That's how the overall gain in efficiency does matter. Adapting the change if it works in their given context and abandoning if it doesn't. This is a kind of two-edged sword. So if it's working, well and good. If it's not working, just scrub it down, just scrap it out. The definition of Kaizen is a change, and that's what the Kai is for. And for the better is like Zen. So Kaizen, change for better, is the basic understanding of the word Kaizen. The goal of Kaizen is often reduced or better yet eliminate waste, or we call it muda in Japanese, or to eliminate overly hard work called muri. And this is again a different philosophy we are trying to adopt in terms of North American or Canadian culture. But yes, good number of Kaizen experts are there within your organizations. You can have one of the Kaizen SME, like subject matter expert who can guide you on these all terminologies and philosophy adoption also. But the primary and most important adoption to Kaizen, to the scale Agile, is continuous improvement. Is the act of applying series of Kaizen loops to improve your wow over time. So what you do, some simple implications like in the morning, good morning with a smile, saying good morning with a smile, and so on and so forth. So we apply a kind of progressively, continuously. Guided continuous improvement extend the Kaizen loop strategy to use proven guidance to help teams identify techniques that are likely to work in their context. So here we are building the context after it's get applied rather than strategically thinking over how it work, how it should be, and so on and so forth. So here more of a groundwork than a top managerial work. So here the teams get worked on themselves in terms of how we can have a continuous development or guided continuous development in their day-to-day processes. This increases the percentage of successful experiment and thereby increases the overall rate of process improvement. Again, this is a philosophy. Each and every company have to adapt to these continuous improvement or guided continuous improvement. There were questions in 2 interviews from the last 2.5 years. What is guided continuous improvement in the scale Agile interview? So please try to understand this guided continuous improvement. You can clearly say it's an implementation of Kaizen to a scale Agile thought process where we are trying to understand what type of continuous improvement we can implement in our day-to-day progressive step. Does that make sense? Anybody have any questions on these? Again, this is more of philosophical nature rather than implementational here. But believe me, in overall, thought process like skilled agile, we are still trying to build a implementation level details. Yes, we do have certain, what you can say, standardized template and process work, but still we are improving day by day in terms of how do you customize this skilled agile for your organizations. Okay, let me move ahead. And let's try to understand the overall lean agile leader foundationship thought process. Management is trained in lean thinking. Again, we are talking about lean as well as Kaizen. Lean is a normal thought process, or a lean is a kind of older thought process implemented in North America or Canadian region with the help of cost reduction thought process. Besides decision on these long-term philosophy, we talk about more of intricacies in how you implement your process in terms of reducing the cost of it or reducing the extra mass in your body. It's like becoming slimmer day by day. It's not a ribbon cutting, it's a continuous process. So you try to intake of lesser salary, you try to intake lesser number of food items and servings and so on and so forth. At the end of the day, at the end of 6 months, you might reduce 5 kgs, 5 pounds, depending upon your strategies, depending upon your overall lean management principle about losing your weight day by day. Lean agile leaders take a systems view. They talk about something like bird's eye view and total system at addressable. So whenever you apply your weight losing skill, you have to apply it holistically. You can't just apply to your food intake, or you can't just apply to your calorie intake. You need to understand your consumption of calorie and then apply the changes, right? I'm just sharing an example with you. On a similar line, of how to apply lean management to your day-to-day life. So whenever you try to apply the weight loss therapy, we have to understand the intake, the consumption, the overall body processes which the body is habituated to. So we need to understand the current scenario in your body, current scenario in project also, before you just start applying lean thought process blindly. Here we have respect for people, we have a product development flow, and Kaizen, which gives you a continuous improvement thought process. So we need to implement these lean management to all these three pillars in terms of leadership foundation. And then we have to embrace the Agile manifesto in terms of improving the collaboration, improving the communication, reduction in the documentation wherever we can, implement the product development flow in terms of build efficiency in the product development flow, and then we'll try to reduce the wastage and try to be more efficient day by day. Unlock the intrinsic potential of knowledge worker. Here what we have learned in the past few years, the knowledge management do help you to go in a long way, so that whenever you manage your knowledge, whenever you start gathering your learning, whenever you start understanding the others mistakes also, and don't let those mistakes done by you, that's how you normally build into the Kaizen as well as lean management, so that your efficiencies are being increased and you are losing the waste overall from the project management perspective. Be it a man, material, machine, you might reduce your seniority in resources, you might reduce your raw materials cost by having better vendor or something like that. You might choose better infrastructure to reduce cost as well, and this is how the overall unlocking the intrinsic potential of a knowledge worker in terms of every developer in the team, every overall team member should work towards a lean management, and that's how we normally progressively tackle the lean management principles in our day-to-day project executions. Again, this is more of a philosophy or umbrella execution which we do on a day-to-day North American project execution progression. Any questions so far on these lean agile principles or implementation thought process?
No, sir.
Okay, good.
Sir, I had one question.
Please go ahead, sir.
So when we are approaching an interview, let's say we have a background with lean and agile teams. When we talk about it in a scaled agile framework, how can we? What kind of questions can we expect from an interviewer?
Yeah, really great question. I know, and I was discussing throughout this session as well. The most question which asked in scale agile interview is, what is art? Agile reads train. And yes, this is asked quite frequently. The other is, why do you scale? Why do you want to scale? So that's a need of organization, right? You get a bigger project, you get a bigger product development, and so on and so forth. Then only you can scale up your agile teams. Or rather, how do you scale up your agile scrum team whenever agile scrum says 10 is the maximum number you should have in a team? So then you apply scale agile principle. Similarly, nobody asked the question of how do you implement Kaizen or a lean foundation and something like that. But yes, there was only twice they have asked question, how do you implement Kaizen in scale agile, or why Kaizen is a part of scale agile? Well, Kaizen is a part of overall PMI PMP thought process where they believe in continuous improvement. It's a part of CMMI level 5I also. The CMMI level 5I is the improvement, and they normally talks about continuous improvement. So this way, there are not many questions in the scale agile area. But yes, there are many questions on the PMI PMP thought process whenever you basically go for the project manager's interview. Something like what is earned value management, something like what is how do you identify risk, and so on and so forth. How do I identify the risk? is the question asked in the most of the interview. So that's why we took a time in basically explaining how do you basically identify risk. There are 6 7 max to max 10 factors which you have to tell to the interview in terms of addressing that question. Have a look at the recording and you'll get idea, or we'll basically discuss in our next next batch as well. So don't worry. So this is how overall scaled agile is more of still in a nascent stage, as we say. It started around 2012. It slowly progressed. Still, I'll believe it's progressing. In many organizations, they have their way of adoption to the scaled agile. So it's not fixed, or it's not a fixed set of rule like agile scrum or something like that. That's why there's a bit of wiggle room in terms of interview, in terms of scaled agile, or safe interview processes. Does that answer your question, sir?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Most welcome. No problem. Let's move ahead. Again, here, the bundle together, we talk about team, portfolio, program, and portfolio. All these three patches, all these three segments work together when we talk about lean is the leadership, the foundation of safe is you. So everybody who participates in scaled agile is basically trying to adapt to the lean and kaizen collaboratively. That's the overall motto of this slide, and this kind of concludes our scaled agile thought processes. And this way basically we have just tried to understand how we could basically implement scale in a progressive manner, how can we implement safe in a progressive manner. Okay, have a look at the recording. Please, if you have any questions, do let me know. Let me release these recording in a couple of hours, and you can have a look at it. Then we can basically discuss in detail in our next session if you have any questions. Okay, otherwise let me start working on the product owner. As far as do you have any question for me as of now in terms of scale agile? Anybody, any confusion, please don't keep it to yourself. Okay, no problem. Let's discuss whenever you have questions rather than me waiting unnecessarily. Okay, let's go on to understanding product owner. Now, product owner might look like to you as just a role in any agile, or any scaled agile way, right? Agile scrum or any agile flavor, even including scale agile. But it's much more than that. Product owner is a owner of that product, project, solution, support, services. So this guy or girl is basically a visionary, a kind of initiator or a coordinator to basically get that product, project, solution, support, services to its completion, because that's his idea. In our normal attendance management enhancement, we normally take the VPHR from our state firm is our product owner. But is the product owner available daily basis for daily scrum call? Of course, no. These are really senior people, MD, CMD, CEO, CFO of the world, where they nominate somebody. So how does this nomination works on a day-to-day basis, on a practical approach? We'll understand that in our product or owner's thought process, product owner roadmap, or product owner implementation at a practical level. And here actually we start understanding the theory behind it, we start understanding the practicals behind it to make it a complete product owner roles and responsibility. There are many persons who are joining, who have started working as a product owner, because nowadays the product owner might choose couple of product owner for each and every scaled agile implementation. That's why we might have number of products owner for a given product, solution, support, services development. And that's how the product owner as a singular role is evolving into multi-role kind of cadre, where he or she is a person who is aligning the complete development, who is responsible for the completeness or conciseness or correctness of the development under his or her leadership. That's why these roles have gathered much more importance, even as comes to something like product manager, project manager also, because in a way project manager, product manager, service manager reports to this product owner for making sure you are cultivating the vision, you are building the vision as per the thought process the product owner had. and all the contradiction to the product owner normally get rejected from your project production support solution development purview or plan. That's how product owner is one of the most critical roles and responsibility we should have understood. We should have spent time on understanding the theory as well as practical behind it. Okay, let me move ahead and let me try to share with you the product owner initial thought process, and then we might close this session with you thinking on how this product owner role is important on a day-to-day basis. Being a project manager, you constantly interact with the product owner. Being a program manager, portfolio manager, you still interact with this product owner, because he or she is a person who is guiding the complete development, be it a product, solution, support, services, whatever it may be. So this visionary role is really a crux, really a most important decision maker in our system, in our day-to-day life. The product owner is responsible for defining stories or prioritizing the team backlog to streamline the execution of a program priorities while maintaining the conceptual and technical integrity of the features or components of the system. This is the definition given in Agile principles for a product owner. So what is product owner? Is responsible for defining stories, defining requirement, completing the requirement list in terms of if the requirement is complete or not, even prioritizing the requirement, and so on and so forth. And then there's a backlog approvals happens on a daily basis in terms of our scrum call. Now product owner is a chairperson of such meetings where we normally take decisions from him in terms of should we process this into development, is the requirement complete or not, and even if the deliveries have been made, is the delivery complete as per the product owner thought process, as per the product owner requirement. In many agile thought process, in many agile implementation, the product owner is the only role who can conclude the close requirement type of process or done definition of a done. What is definition of done? Whenever you complete a requirement, whenever you complete a user story in terms of feature development, there should be one authority who can mark it complete, and product owner is the sole authority for such implementation of definition of done in many organizations. In some organizations, they might shoulder this responsibility with a project manager or some other executives, but predominantly most of the agile execution, product owner is the final authority to conclude the definition of a done for a given feature list or a function list. Believe me, this is really important. And the overall streamlining the execution of a program priorities while maintaining the conceptual and technical integrity of the features or components for the team. So product owner is a guy, is a person who guides the team if they are in a conflict with the crux, they are deviating from the crux or something like that, and he keeps guiding on a day-to-day basis, be it a representative or be it a original product owner. The original product owner is not the used term in Agile, but I would like to use it because the visionary who have deployed the vision in terms of document, email, summary list or bullet points, then he nominate let's say somebody as a product owner. But whenever he or she meets to the Agile Scrum team on daily basis, there are many confusions to such person as well as a human, right? So he or she should go to the product owner and clarify them as early as possible with the highest priority. And that's what have been embedded in the Agile development process all over the globe right now. The product owner has a significant role in maximizing the value produced by the team. So he is the person who basically aligns the vision mission in a given implemented development product features, and ensuring the stories meet the user needs and comply with the definition of a done. So when you talk about a product owner, do realize Steve Jobs as a product owner for Apple phone development, because he conceived the idea, he deployed the idea, that's why the product is a great success. There are many product owners who might leave the company and the product project solution support services do fail in the due course of time because They have lost the vision, or the vision couldn't be documented correctly for the team guidance, and so on. So this role has a significant relationship and responsibility outside the local team as well, including working with the product management, customers, business owners, and other stakeholders. Here, let's try to understand one by one. Of course, we understood how a product owner can lead the product management development. Again, to the customers, product owner's vision might have inspired from couple of customers' discussions. So in case product owner have any challenge in terms of conflict resolution, he can still go to those discussion members, to the customer, and try to understand what will he prefer, mostly in terms of cosmetic changes. Let's say there is a product owner for a new cyber truck which Tesla is developing. Of course, in Tesla, Mr. Tesla is the only product owner, and he have some nominated, his followers as a product owner. So there's a product owner for cyber truck. Cyber truck is basically a kind of small truck, as we normally mention in the North American, description of product. Small truck with a good engine, with a larger battery capacity, and so on. So Cybertruck is also an electrical vehicle with a good amount of sturdiness attached to it. And whenever there was a confusion in terms of if you heard of Tesla's I forgot the SUV, or electrical SUV, which scrolls like a spider, means you literally can turn your wheels with a 90 degrees, I don't know how much degree of deviation they have, and they start shifting like spider. There was a big discussion, should this cyber truck should have these cyber crawling capacity or not. And the product owner was still at a challenge. Then he gone to Mr. Tesla and say, Mr. Tesla, what do you think? Mr. Tesla says, no, this is a sturdier vehicle. This is not a a kind of thing which we should implement. But if you given these things, then it will be an added facility, and it's a flagship requirement. So should we? So from marketing perspective, what he did two separate versions of a Cybertruck. One with a crawling capacity, with a lesser throughput, and another with a bigger throughput, better throughput than the crawling capability. Again, as a product owner, if you're clear enough in terms of your vision, you can really guide others as well. Guide others in terms of stakeholders, customers, business owner, and the development team as well. But again, it depends on the strength of the willpower, strength of the thought process of the product owner as well. That's why product owner is a kind of what you normally say, a lighthouse which guides good number of people in their despair, in their challenging time. The product owner is a member of Agile team who serves as a customer proxy. Rather, he's a customer itself. So the way Agile have used this wording, even it's more of stress the fact that he's from a customer party, customer team. So customer proxy is responsible for working with the product management, project management team, and other stakeholders, including the other product owners which he or she have stationed for representing him or her, to define and prioritize stories in the team backlog. So here we are trying to address the product owner's roles and responsibilities in a greater depth, step by step. This allows the solution to effectively address program priority, features, and enablers while maintaining the technical integrity. Ideally, the product owner is co-located with the rest of the team, where they typically share the management incentive and culture. But practically, this is a theoretical prerogative. Practically, the product owner now can connect on Google Meet, Zoom, and so on, so online tool, so the team can feel the product owner is co-allocating with them, is with them all the time for any confusion and all, right? Then, but the product owner also attends the relevant product management events for planning and program backlog and vision refinement. Again, in addition to daily Scrum Meet, the product owner's attendance is required in scheme review, program backlog review, or vision refinement as well, to guide the team of any confusion, any difficulties in alignment of the next set of user stories or requirement to be implemented for a given sprint iteration. And that's how the product owner progressively helps the product team, the project team, solution team, or services team on day in day out basis in all their scrum calls. And this is how the overall product owner is really a crucial team member for every agile development. And that's how we need to understand the product owner in the depth. What do you think, product owner role? Is it easy or difficult from our discussion, the initial discussion? Can anybody share their thoughts? Anybody? There's no right or wrong here. We are just trying to understand how we could express our needs for a particular role, like a crucial role like product owner. Please go ahead, try it out.
So, as per me, the role of a product owner is a very critical role, because if he misses even a slightest of thing of a particular feature or anything, it completely destroys the entire development process, and the
Like,
end product is not the end result that is developed doesn't satisfy the client's requirement.
perfect, ma'am. Really great answer. Thanks a lot for that. Anybody else want to add to that? See, discussion is an integral part of our learning, right? So unless you express your feeling, it's difficult for me to understand what all things you have understood, what all things is basically a kind of challenging to understand for you as well. So please keep discussing, please keep expressing. And there's no right or wrong. This is a management we are talking about. This is a philosophy we are talking about. Let me do one thing. Let me stop here as of today. Let's start this thing again on Tuesday, and we'll understand in a progressive manner how product owner can help us out in terms of guiding the overall complete team in terms of the current alignment for a given project, solution, product, support, services. Does that fine with you? Anybody have any question as of now? Any confusion?
No, sir, no confusion at all. If you want to stop it here, you can, of course, stop it here. But the product owner has the vision of the project. So
Right.
the product owner not necessarily be knowing everything about the what's going on in the project, of course. For that reason, the product owner is not there. Product owner represents the business side of it, and
Right.
is the first point of contact for all the BAs and other people who
That's
are
right.
responsible for drafting, crafting the requirements and all.
Right. But when you say it's not aware of everything on a project, that might not be true, sir. Because
No,
normally we have something like daily scrum meet, right? And
I'm absolutely did not mean that.
okay, no,
I'm sorry if my
no,
words have misconveyed.
Sure, sir. No problem. And thanks for clarification. For everybody else also, means this is not again just single thought process we are building. We are trying to understand how the complexity and the depth of this role as well. Because theoretically, we want the product owner to go through each and every task, frankly speaking, and make sure that task is in alignment with the final goal. As madam have just explained, like if a small deviation might lead to a big gap in terms of what we are looking for and whatever we got, and that's the kind of deviation. And as we evolve, right, we evolve with the progression. A small deviation can lead to a big gaps in between the requirement or the vision and the actual feature list what we got at the end of the product development or a project development. And these are the scenario, believe me, even the product owner who might have left the project, solution, support, services in between, the project couldn't get completed or might not achieve the results what it supposed to achieve, just because the vision or the kind of alignment we lost in between. And that's why product owner is a really crucial role. Means if you can be a scrum master and a product owner for an organization, normally company won't let you go even in their disturbed times, believe me. Rather, well, project manager is of course is a critical and the most critical, but after project manager, product owner is one of the most critical resources for a given product solution support services, because these guys hold the information, the thought process, the basic alignment. Even if he or she have not envisioned the idea, somebody else, but these guys normally spend time with that visionary, that a dreamy person who have embedded that idea, thought process, background, scenario, priorities into these product owners. That's why even product owner are one of the most critical resources for every development in a day-to-day world, in a practical life. Does that answer your question, sir?
Yes, absolutely, sir.
Thank you, thanks a lot. And please think on these things. Let me share the presentation as well as the recording. Have a look at it again, and then we'll discuss in detail in our next session. Okay, thank you, thanks a lot for your time. Have a good weekend. Good night.
Thank
Okay,
you,
sir.
sir.
I had a question for you, sir.
Please go ahead, sir.
So I know I had sent you a message in WhatsApp previously with regard to questions regarding interview prep. So I was just wondering if I could kind of get your ideas on, what to expect from that.
Sure. Could we wait for, let's say, Mondays? On Wednesdays, no, we have session on Thursday, right? On Thursday, we will start discussing our mock interview thought processes. At that time,
Okay.
We will basically start building up a questionnaire by ourselves. Okay, and we'll build a list of questions. Believe me. Okay, just hold on for a couple of sessions.
Okay, sure.
Okay. Thank you, Ajay. Thanks a
Thank
lot. Have a great weekend. Bye bye.
you. Bye.